Hi everyone, my name's Gavin, and I'm presenting about my map editing journey on Waze. So, who am I? I'm a volunteer map editor with Waze. I started map editing on Waze back in October of 2023. I've made about 30,000 edits, mostly in the Twin Cities area. Some of those edits are adding roads, adding businesses or places, or like adding house numbers so people can get navigate to the right place on the streets. I also manage several Minnesota-specific Waze social media accounts to let drivers know about nearby events. Why do I edit the map? The main reason I started editing on Waze is so I could help my fellow drivers find the right place they're looking for instead of being like confused of like it's on this street and it's like, oh no, it's actually on this street. And then I also wanted to reduce the amount of stress that drivers may experience when navigating to an area they've never been to before. I also enjoy editing on Waze because it's a fun activity to do, and the community has been very friendly and welcoming since I first started editing. Does anyone have any questions about me or Waze? All right, I'm just gonna move on. I have here's some links if you'd like to get in touch with us, or if you'd like to partner with Waze directly. I'll leave these on for a few minutes.
Yeah, Tyler, go ahead.
Hi, Gavin. I guess I have two questions. One is a little bit more personal, and that is, do you have a GIS background, or is this just something that you took interest with?
Uh, I kind of just took interest in Waze map editing. I think when I first started editing, my work didn't have a road. So my day job is IT. Um, and my office didn't have a road to it. There's no there's no road to my parking lot. So whenever I would navigate, wouldn't tell me the full way how to get there. So I started editing on Waze, and I think the first edit I made was not great at it because when I first looked in, they're like, hey, this might not do the exact thing you're intended doing when I joined the community. Um, oh, I didn't see the chat. Forgot to ask. Um, and what was your second question, Tyler?
Yeah. My second question is so I actually haven't made any edits to Waze itself. I've done a similar process to Google, and you more or less suggest an edit. Is it the same with Waze? Do you kind of suggest an edit, there's a processing time, and then it's reflected in the map, or is it a little bit more immediate than that?
Um, that's the nice thing about Waze, is that for if you manage a certain area, um, like if you're part of the Waze for Cities program, you can just make edits, and some of those edits will be instant, and then some of them will require like we call a tile build delay. So it'll be like typically 1 day after you made the edit. But the nice thing about Waze is that all your edits are reviewed by like actual people. If if it needs to be like a suggestion, it was like a very specific edit, like you're editing like the freeway, that's where it requires like approval from like a higher level editor. Um, but any small edits like you're adding a road or there's new developments, like there's new townhomes that are being built, we can either the city can add the house numbers there or we can add the house numbers. It's typically the latter.
Very,
But it's more community sourced.
very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we had a couple of questions in the chat, but I think maybe let's keep going with the presentation because they might get addressed.
Yeah. That was actually just the end. I had a pretty quick presentation just to give some people some time to ask questions.
Gotcha. So, okay, well, we'll jump into these questions then. First we've got from Anetta is asking about authoritative Waze accounts. So, are cities, do you know if cities are able to set up an account specifically just for like the official like city account that multiple people would be able to access and submit updates to as the city?
I don't know for sure, but I would believe so. I could get back to my community leads and see
Mm-hmm.
what they say, but I think it's possible to have that. From what I recall, I feel like I have seen that been done where, like, I'm pretty sure like the city Chanhassen has one account. It's like Chan GIS.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's possible.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that'd be great to get more info on. And then Adam was asking about the relationship of Waze to Google Maps. So, for example, if people were to make updates in Waze, do those flow into Google Maps, vice versa? Kind of how do those two things, are they separate maps? Do they talk to each other? And how exactly does that work?
They do talk to each other. So the cool part is it's I find it's typically harder to get a road closed on Google Maps, but if you close a road in Waze, that actually gets transferred over to Google Maps in real time. So let's
Hmm.
say there's a street that's having, I think there's a recent project in like Richfield, possibly, or maybe a different city, where there's a roundabout being put in. So we actually close that road, and
Hmm.
whenever we close that road in Waze, it closed in Google Maps as well.
Very nice.
Um, but the only thing is, but if we add a place or if we add a road in Waze, that doesn't get translated over to Google Maps. It's just only road closures.
Sure.
But Google Maps does actually connect. It does provide data from Google Maps two ways. So like whenever we add a place or a business, we can actually link it to a Google Maps business in a way. So
Hmm.
like let's say there's like a Dollar Tree on Google Maps and we're adding that same Dollar Tree on Waze, we can actually link it to the Google Maps like entry of that Dollar Tree.
Sure. That makes sense. And Scott had a question in the chat that I think is related to this, which is, and I think this is specifically for you, Gavin, but maybe also just generally too. Like, how are you identifying, like, what kind of things are you seeing that make you go, oh, I should update that in Waze? And like, how are you cross-referencing? So it sounds like you had an example of like seeing a store maybe that's new or closed or changed, or you mentioned road closures. Kind of, what's the process look like for you for when you decide to open up Waze and submit changes?
Um, Basically what makes me think about like opening up Waze and like just like what. Sorry, I didn't hear the conversation. I was
Yeah,
having
no,
some weird
just so
technical difficulties.
like they're really just wondering like you mentioned road closures. Like how do you know that that road's been closed? Is that something you're like seeing cities post about? Is that something you're seeing in the real world? Like you're seeing a road closed sign and that's then you're opening up Waze. Like how do you decide when how do you identify changes that you're making in Waze?
Oh yeah. So we actually typically use like the 511 website, but
Okay.
then we'll actually go on to city websites and also
Hmm.
look there as well. And then the other thing is we have a bunch of like tools and scripts. Actually, I'm gonna screen share the
Yeah,
editing window if that's fine.
that'd be awesome.
Here we go. So here's the map editor for us. I don't know where I was editing. I think I was editing in Sock Rapids. Oh yeah, I was adjusting a road here. Let's go over here. I actually don't have a few of my scripts. That's okay. So we in the community we create like scripts to help us edit the maps.
Hmm.
I'm gonna turn off this quick. So we actually have a tool called GIS layers, which actually pulls from like I believe it was like ArcGIS, and we pull like the tiles from there or
Hmm.
later or feature layers, and we actually put it onto Waze, so I can actually see the street names here,
Yep.
and then these are house numbers as well, so I can scroll in pretty closely and see the house number here. Yeah, so we use a combination of city websites, city social media accounts, 511 to basically figure out information. And we also have satellite imagery as well.
Hmm. That's very cool. Maggie is wondering if somebody on this call or we know somebody or anybody was interested in making an account and editing, is there any type of verification or training process that has to happen in order to be able to start changing stuff, or is it something that you can kind of just create an account and start and get going with?
You can just start and get going with. That's kind of how I started, and you might make some edits that might be not the most that aren't really aligned to community standards. But if you
Hmm.
join the community, like the Waze community,
Hmm.
we're very happy to help you basically let you know what to do, what edits is okay, what's not okay. And then we also have we have something I believe it's like called the buddy program where if you partner with Waze, you'll get paired with a buddy, like a volunteer map editor,
Hmm.
typically a more experienced map editor. Um that probably been editing for like 5 years or so. I've only been editing for about 3 years. So but yeah, it's pretty easy to get started. You don't really need
Hmm.
any verification or training at first. Um, and I can also provide some resources where if you want to know what like the best editing guidelines are, and then in that presentation, add some QR codes that
Hmm.
basically link to all of our social media accounts, and then there's also a link to our. We use Discord for communicating between the editors a
Hmm.
lot. But we also have a forum that I can provide a link to as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Actually,
great.
yeah, I'll provide a quick link to that forum real quick.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Heather.
Is it still the case that like in order to edit an area, you have to have driven it using the Waze app like on your phone? Because I remember wanting to edit an area, but I hadn't driven it before using the app, so it didn't let me edit the area.
yeah, yeah. Edible area, we call it. It does if you're doing it as like an individual and not through like if you're not partnered with Waze directly, you do typically have to have driven in that area. And I think it was the last 21 days. It might be 28 days. I think it's the last 28 days. Um, but if you partner with Waze directly, they can you basically draw like a little polygon of like the area that you want to manage, and then it gives you editing permissions there, and you don't have to drive that area or anything. It just gives you editing permissions there.
Hmm. It's very
And
interesting.
then yeah, and want if you aren't able to partner with Waze, you can also post on the Waze discuss forums or reach out to us in one of our communities, and we can also get those edits put in as well.